All right, we've reached our final video for section 2.1. This is the third one. If you haven't seen sections or parts A and B, I would suggest you go back and watch those. But let's just review what we learned in 2.1b. In 2.1b, we estimated the HST on different uh, objects or different prices and calculated the after-tax price. So how much we would actually cost once the tax has been included. So when we did this before, we were only estimating. So instead of doing $595.95, we chose a number that would be easier to do the math on, like $600. And there were two methods that we explored in the last video, 13% or 15%. The 13% is going to be a little bit more accurate because HST actually is 13%. In that case, though, we broke up the 13 into a 10% and then three ones. So the reason we did that, of course, is because calculating 10% and 1% are very easy. 10% means you move the decimal one place, and we end up with $60. 1%, we move it two places to the left, which is $6. And so the 1 plus 1 plus 1% is 6 plus 6 plus 6, or 3 times 6, which is $18. And then, of course, we already had the $60 from the 10. So if we were to actually calculate the after-tax price on this estimate, it would be 600 plus the 60, which is 660, plus another 18, which would be $678. And that would be our estimate of what the after-tax price would be on this iPhone. Now method 2 actually did 15%, which is more than HST, but is a little bit easier to calculate. The 15%, we take 10% and 5%. 10% is just like the one before. We move one decimal place to the left and get $60. But 5% is just half of that, and $30. And so to calculate the after-tax price, it would be 600 plus 60 plus another 30 is actually $690. And both of these are reasonable estimates of what the after-tax price would be on this iPhone. But of course, if we went up to the till and actually punched this number into the cash register, it would tell us that we owe $673.42. So why are our estimates not exactly correct? Well, of course, we didn't calculate on $595.95. We calculated on $600, which already is a little bit higher. And although 13% is exactly correct for HST, because we chose $600, we were a little bit bigger than the actual price. And then method 2 was even larger because we actually calculated 15%, which is more than HST. But still, both of those were reasonable estimates. But that was last video. This video, we want to actually calculate the price, be exact, and calculate instead of estimate. So to do that, we're going to first, though, explore method 1. Let's just go back and look at it a second. It came from the 600 plus 60 plus the 18 to get our actual estimate. So if we thought of this in percents, 600 is our 100%, the price of the object. The 60 was the 10%. And the 18 came from 3 1%. And so the after-tax price is actually 100 plus 10% plus 3% is 113. 100% of the price plus 13% tax gets us 113%. Now, it seems weird we're calculating more than 100%, but when you're calculating the tax, you're paying more than the actual ticket price. So let's think about that 113%. That would mean that if we're calculating 113%, the after-tax price is 113% of the original. You'll recall last chapter, we translated these statements like this into math. So 113%, if we wanted to translate it, we would change it into a decimal by dividing by 100. So 113% divided by 100 is 1.13. Of means times, and the price would be there. So to calculate the after-tax price, we take a 1.13 times the price, or the price times 100, 1.13. And that formula there will allow us to calculate the actual after-tax price. Let's test this on our estimate. So if the price of the thing was $600, according to method 1, we would estimate 678. Let's use this formula. 600 times 1.13. I'll give you a second to punch that in your calculator. 600 times 1.13. And you'll see the answer is 678, which is exactly the same as what we calculated or estimated in method 1. But of course, this is just an estimate because we did the price of $600. If we want to calculate the actual price, we need to consider the actual cost. So it's $595. So today we're going to calculate this. So instead of using an estimate, we're actually going to use 595.95 and times by 1.13. And I'll give you a moment to punch that in your calculator. 595.95 times 1.13. And we get 673.4235. Of course, your cash register is not going to spit that out. It's going to round it to $673.42, which is the exact calculated after-tax price of this phone. So no more estimating, we're going to actually calculate it. So we can turn to our workbook now in page 37. And in page 37, you'll see 2 tech tips on how you can use different technology to help you with this thing. It talks about using a tip calculator and a regular calculator. Well, we all have standard calculators. We're not going to use a tip calculator, so I'm going to actually box that out and I'm going to ignore that. And there are 3 different methods it's got here for calculating using a calculator to get the answer. The one we just reviewed is this one, 179 times 1.13. So if we just use our regular calculator and go 179.99 times 1.13, we'll get an answer of $200.03, or sorry, $203.39. And so our correct answer is $203.39. At the bottom of that page, we have a check your understanding. And on that check your understanding, I'm actually going to look at this true false little spot. So the first one says, to estimate a price, you round the original price. Well, that's right. When we were estimating, remember we chose a number that was easier. Let's go back to the iPhone. Remember when we did this, we were rounding and we estimated, so we chose 600 instead of that number. So in this case, you're right. That is true. To estimate, we round the original. Next one, to calculate an actual price, you round the original price. I don't think that's right. Let's go back here. To calculate, we use the actual price. So we didn't use the rounded price. We used the actual price. So on the bottom of page 37, this is true. When estimating, we round. But when we're calculating, we don't round. We use the actual number. So that one's false. We can test this out in this example. Shannon wants to buy a music player. She has $100 in cash. Can she afford a $79 unit plus HST? Let's do the calculations. So 79 times 1.13. I'll give you a moment to punch that in your calculator. And we'll see that our cost is $89.27. So if the original ticket price was $79, you include the HST, then yes, she does have enough money to pay for that. But then she sees another one that's $89. I think she's going to have enough cash for that. Well, this would be 89 times 1.13. And if we punch that into our calculator, we'll get that it's $100.57, which is slightly above the $100 cash that she has. So no, she wouldn't be able to afford that. And so this multiplying by 1.13 is really valuable. Question 3 here is an interesting one. What is the original price of the most expensive item she can buy? So she knows that she can afford a $79 one, but an $89 one is just too much. So if we had to estimate, I would say it would be something just a little less than $89. We don't need to continue any further on this, but if you're really curious to figure out what the exact one is it $88? Is it $88.10? What is it? You can actually calculate this by saying, well, I don't know what the price was, but I know if I multiply it by 1.13, it has to be equal to exactly $100 because that's how much cash Shanna has. So if you don't know a number that gets multiplied, to figure out what that unknown is, you're going to actually divide. So if you went to your calculator right now and typed in $100 divided by 1.13, you would get the exact price of $88.49. And that would be the most expensive item she could get, because that plus HST tax would be just less than $100. Here's the proof that $88.49 is the most expensive she could buy, because if you multiplied it by 1.13, you would see the cost would be $99.99. And she couldn't get any closer to spending all of her $100 in cash. All right, what I'd like you to do now is actually turn back and look on page 36 of our workbook. In the last video, we filled out the top half, but what I'm going to look at now is the bottom half of that page. So on page 36, you see there's questions 3, 4, and 5. I think 4 and 5 we're going to ignore and just adjust question 3 to do all of this in one step. So we're not actually going to calculate the HST on its own. We're going to calculate the after-tax cost all in one step. So instead of looking at the percent, we're just going to take these prices and multiply it by 1.13 to get our actual cost. So just ignore question 4 and 5, and we're going to just do this math on this question. So $59.99 times 1.13 is $67.78. And that would be the after-tax cost, all in one step. So I'd like you to take a second now and pause the video and do the other 3 ones that are in the chart from above. Multiply each of them by 1.13 to figure out what the correct answer is for the after-tax cost. Make sure you round your answers to 2 decimal places to include all the cents. So push pause right now and try those, and when you're ready, push play again to see if you did how you did. Okay, so if the original price was $78.49 times 1.13, we're going to get $88.69. $149.99 plus your tax is going to mean their cost is $169.49. And finally, $249.99 times 1.13, the after-tax cost is $282.49. If you go back to our estimates here and compare those estimates to what we just calculated, you'll see these estimates, of course, are going to be higher than what we just calculated, because remember, we were estimating 15% and rounding our price. But on this case, we actually did the calculations on the exact price and got the exact answers. So that's all for section 2.1. We've now filled in all the pages that I want us to do. If you're really wanting to look for something else to do, you could look ahead to section 2.2 and do the warm-up, numbers 1, 2, and 3. all very similar, including some of the percent stuff that we had done earlier in this section. But this isn't necessary. We're going to start with this warm-up when we move on to section 2.2. All right, great job today.